These are the North Staffordshire moorlands, just outside Leek in Staffordshire. To my right, we have Morridge Ridge. To my left, we have the Roaches. Both of these claimed their fair share of World War II aircraft which crashed through various causes, difficulties, engine failures, etc. It is our intention today to visit and record one or two of the crash sites of a number of these aircraft. We have a Wellington bomber that crashed on Cloud, which is the mountain just behind me over there. And over to my right, we have a Sterling bomber and a P38 Lightning. We intend to start with the P38 Lightning as now at the crash site of the USAAF P38 Lightning, serial number 4267670. It crashed at this location on the 22nd of December 1943. The pilot abandoned the aircraft after RT failure and in bad weather conditions. The site was found by the Pennine Aviation Museum on the 1st of April 85. Many parts were found, including both reduction gears. We will now just have a look at the actual impact site of where the aircraft came to rest. This is the actual impact crater created by the aircraft. Both the reduction gears were found in this part of the crater here. It is believed that the aircraft was approaching from that direction. Impacted and somersaulted and burnt out in that area. There are still pieces to be found within this area, such as these small fragments of aircraft frame. Though they're generally rusted, quite a few pieces can be found. Just as a point of interest, it is believed that the same pilot abandoned a further P38 within this location, but its whereabouts as yet has not been found. Now at the crash site of the short 6075 from 101 Heavy Conversion Unit. This bomber crashed at this location on the 13th of July 1942. The whole entire crew were killed. It is believed that the aircraft was flying low and was unable to gain height. The farmer who owns the property saw the actual aircraft crash and remembers that the crew were pushing out bits of equipment to try and gain height, but they failed to do so. The rear gunner was alive when the farmer reached the site, but he died shortly afterwards. The aircraft's approach was from directly towards us as we are standing now, and he impacted into the side of the cliff face below us. As you can see, parts of the aircraft can still be found at this site, and there are many more parts still remain buried within the marsh at the bottom of the face. Bits of Bakelite there. Part of a burnt strap. Riveting on that. To the crash site of American P47 Thunderbolt which crashed presumably with the pilot still buried in the cockpit. P47 Thunderbolt. Unfortunately, the farmer that owns this land will not let us excavate the aircraft. A few months ago, he was laying a drainage ditch through the site and he came across the undercarriage wheel. As you can see, the undercarriage wheel is just lying beneath the surface of this small pool. Before it wasn't exposed, but now it has been. Obviously the farmer has left it for this purpose. It is believed that the entire aircraft lies buried within this small swamp and that the pilot remains encased within the cockpit. On our first visit to the site, we found numerous rounds of live 5.0 ammunition. These are now in the process of being cleaned and in the museum. The undercarriage wheel was taken off the alley-o leg, and that is now in the museum. It is hoped that at some later date we might be able to excavate the remains of this aircraft. It is said that the pilot was at the point of climbing out of the cockpit when he hit the ground, as a consequence of which, on impact, the canopy slid forward and chopped off his left hand. His left hand was the only piece of the pilot that was found, and that was found lying on the road here. The crash site of a Wellington bomber at Hen Cloud on the Roaches. Crash site of Wellington bomber Z1744 from 27 OTU. It crashed on the 20th of November 1942. It is believed that the pilot was flying too low, hit low ground, bounced into the air, and before coming to rest at the base of Hen Cloud and exploding. Hen Cloud itself is at the monument there, and the aircraft itself came to rest just below that low of trees, where it entirely burnt out, killing the entire crew except for the rear gunner, who was rescued by a local farmer. The rear gunner in fact visited this site a few years ago and again met the farmer who saved his life. Nothing remains at the site of this aircraft, and it is totally clear of any remains. On the way to our location of another Stirling bomber which crashed on the banks here of Rudyard Lake near Leek. The Stirling in question was LK502 from 1654 Heavy Conversion Unit, Wigsley in Lincolnshire. The aircraft crashed here on the 27th of May 1944. 4 of the 8 crew on board were killed. The aircraft was on a long cross-country training and was seen to be flying the length of Rudyard Lake 4 or 5 times. On its final approach, a parachute were seen to come from the aircraft before impacting on the west bank of the lake, known as Clifton Park, which is to my left over there. The aircraft was built by Austin Motors of Birmingham and took part in the first 1000 bomber raid on Cologne on the night of the 31st of May 1943. It served with 149 Squadron and then went to the SOE before being used as a mine layer, then to 1654 HCU. The cause of the crash was failure of both starboard engines, rudder and trim. Due to the low height of the aircraft, 4 crew failed to bail out and were killed on impact. These were Flying Officer G.M. Leach, pilot, Flight Sergeant B.D. Fine, wireless operator, Sergeant H. Ward, rear gunner, and Sergeant C.D. Howes, mid-upper gunner. The remains of the aircraft were not removed from the site until 1947, by which time many parts had been taken by the local populace. The Pennine investigation began in 1980, and many parts have been recovered from the site, including 3 propellers, an engine reduction gear from the starboard inner engine, various oil pumps and instruments. The aircraft itself was struck off charge on the 29th of June 1944. We will now proceed to the actual crash location. The final resting place of LK504. Its final approach was from that direction, where it impacted to the banking here and skidded along this precipice here, and finally came to rest and burnt out in this location. As you can see, the area is still littered with bits of the aircraft. And around this site, if one looks carefully enough, one can pick up bits of ammunition and parts of the aircraft and perspex. The cockpit of the aircraft came to rest up on the banking there. The propellers that were found around this area. The reduction gear from the aircraft was found beneath this stone at a depth of about 18 inches, together with the armour plate from the nasal.